Hello, it's your YouTube friend Brad here, and this is part 2 of my How I Monetize My Channel. Hopefully you watch these in order. Part 1, I talked about the first revelation of how I monetized, and then YouTube taking down, or changing the rules really, changing the goalpost, and making you get to 1,000 subscribers, and watch time having to be a certain number, which again, I can't remember what it was because I was already there and wasn't really watching that. I was watching subscribers. But when I got to 1,000 subscribers, which was, I think, 2019, I started thinking about how am I going to monetize the channel again? Because now I'd put up all of my old clips from Sports Talk Weekly, all of my old interviews. Interviewed Mickey Mantle when I was a kid. At a card show, Mickey Mantle came off the stage, and we did this interview, and it was great. And I think you can see that video. Of course, you can see that video here on my channel. But Brooks Robinson, Dick Butkus, Gordie Howe, just the biggest names in sports would come through St. Louis to sign baseball cards, and then I would interview them after them for my sports show. So I would thought these would be incredibly viewed videos, but they weren't. I don't think, people are seeking out Mickey Mantle videos. But I did get to the point where I was at 1,000 subscribers. So now I was thinking, all right, now it's time. I want to build this channel because now I know that YouTube you can make money. I was getting there and then it stopped, but now I'm back. So what am I going to do? So the first thing I started thinking about was I need to do something daily, and I need to kind of figure out what I can do daily and what would be interesting to me, but possibly interesting to the people. And so I started doing, and you can go back and look, and I think I've taken some of these down, but just some Cardinal stuff. I'm a huge Cardinal fan. I love talking about Cardinal baseball. I like talking baseball. So I had a buddy of mine, Mike, he came on, we started talking Cardinal baseball. We do something once a week. We'd open baseball cards. I thought people would be interested in seeing old baseball cards being opened. I interviewed former Cardinals, Scott Spezio, Andy Bennis, Brian Jordan, Matt Holliday, and at the end, of course, we'd open baseball cards. I thought people would be interested in that. By the way, I started doing that at Fox Sports Midwest back in the early 2000s with Matt Holliday and David Freese and Jason Mott. I had them open up old baseball cards for Fox Sports Midwest way before people were doing it on Yahoo or anywhere else. But I thought that would make people would watch that. And I was finding that was not happening. So I was a little sad because I wanted to come up with a way to make these, my channel, I wanted to make money on it. Now I'm at this point where I've passed the monetization threshold, and I'm still not seeing a big bump as I was hoping. So do all of those. Didn't think that was working. Again, I went to my buddy Jason Ganal, one of the reasons why I've created this video and created my channel. And I said, tell me some tips, what do you do? And he's like, you gotta be, we gotta get these things out all the time. You gotta have a good description. And I was doing all these things, but I came to this realization that Cardinal baseball is just too local. And what I realized that you can't really be so local on YouTube, it's not going to really do anything for you, is that's when the light bulb went off in my head. And I started doing other things and realizing that other videos on my channel were getting much bigger views. And those videos were podcast of interviews I did with former Howard Stern people. I interviewed Casey Armstrong back in 2019, and it was an audio interview. I could have done the video, just didn't do it. Wasn't thinking about it. Did Stuttering John back in that time period. I also did Jackie the Joke Man for the first time, all audio interviews. But again, wasn't thinking video. And then I realized as I look back, wow, those have a lot of views, even though they're not video. And so now my light bulb went off in my head. Let's figure out who else we can do and what can we do Howard Stern-wise. And so this is going to be the crux and kind of the buildup of how this channel got monetized. And again, my friend Charlie Marlowe said you should probably have a video together on how you did it and how you go about doing it. And so I wanted to do that here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and run through some of the things that I did. So the first thing I noticed, again, was that those interviews were big. I started thinking about who would be interesting that I want to talk to from those days on the Stern Show. So a lot of people always wonder, oh, he must have worked there, or he knows these guys, or, he's an insider, and that's how he's getting these interviews. That is not the case. What I did was I showed in my pitch to these people that I'm not just some random fan. I was a fan, and I'm a huge fan of the show back in the day. But I've worked at Fox Sports. I've interviewed Bob Costas and Joe Buck and Dick Butkus and Mickey Mantle and all of these guys. So I'm not just some random fan. This is what I do for a living, or did do for a living. Now I do it as kind of a thing on the side because I enjoy doing interviews. I really do like asking questions, and I like putting things out there. So the first few folks I asked were from Howard 100 News, Steve Langford, Doug Goodstein, and those were kind of the first two, and I figured out ways to get a hold of them. I don't want to give out those ideas, but I just, as a journalist, you know how to sort of figure out how to get a hold of people. And I sent them this letter and just said, here's what I'm trying to do. We're not going to be throwing fireballs at Howard here. I just want to hear basically what I like to do is hear, how did you get there? How did you start? Where did you start? How did you get there? What was it like? Not, is Howard an asshole? Was he tough to work with? And if they want to talk about that, then that's fine. I let them do that. But basically it was, tell me about running the TV station for Howard Stern. Tell me about having to look at all of, the hours of tape and decide what goes on. That was like my thoughts with Doug. For Steve Langford, it was, what is it like going from being, a legit journalist who worked for Hard Copy, but now you're covering High Pitch Eric and Eric the Midget and the Craptacular, and tell me a little bit about those thoughts. And so that was my first thought, was just a few of the people in my head that I was thinking of, all right, these are the kind of guys I think people would like to hear from. So Doug Goodstein was the first, and I appreciate him. Again, he was a former Howard TV person. I was in TV. We had a long string of conversations about basically what I was trying to do with this, and he enjoyed it. It was definitely trepidatious because he didn't really want to do anything like that. I had seen that he had done a podcast a little bit earlier, and he told me he did that as a favor to a friend, and I just told him, listen, I'm not here to throw firebombs, but we did the interview, and boom, people started watching. And in the title, I put Howard Stern, staff employee, and I put Doug Goodstein, and I put with an Artie Lange update, because I was asking each person if they had heard from Artie Lange, and I was very curious, and I wasn't doing it nefariously. I just thought, I'm interested in what Artie Lange's up to. I'm going to ask every one of these people, and so if people want to know what Artie Lange's up to, they can take a look. Turns out that was a major breakthrough on how I monetize this channel. So there's so many things to know about with monetization, and I'm going to get into those in part 3, because I want to teach kind of how I learned the system. And it really dealt with putting Artie Lange update, Howard Stern, former staff employee. Those were sort of the keywords I was using. And in part 3 of this, I'm going to run through many, many other reasons why this channel, I think, took off and started making some money for me, and hopefully it'll give you some tools to use as well. So I thank you for watching this, and I want you to check out part 3. Also, as always, subscribe. This is for subscribers only. We'll see you next time, and thank you for watching.